From Toronto, Phanta Media presents the Not So Corporate Podcast. Welcome to the Not So Corporate Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Drager. I realized in the past few weeks I haven't actually introduced myself, so there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm also joined here in our studio with Lisa.
Hi,
Lisa.
That was like my alter ego in college, Naughty Lisa. It's too much.
Okay.
I think we should take it again.
No, we're going to keep this going. I'm joined here in our studio with Leah Earl, back from the South Pacific. Hey, Leah.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
And also joining us, as always, is Roland Echeverria.
Hi.
Hi, Roland.
How was Hawaii?
It was great. It was it's hard traveling with a baby, but
So when you were on the beach, instead of changing diapers, did you just take the baby to the sea and take a crap?
No. You just drag their bum through the
swim
sand.
diapers, yeah.
To the sun. Eh?
Through the sand. You just
Sand.
it's like a cat litter box. It's self-cleaning.
No.
Nice.
The one thing you don't want is your baby to touch the sand because it's everywhere on their body.
What?
It's crazy. There's like sand all.
I know what you're saying,
That
but I just
happens
don't.
to you too.
So hold on. So you
Grown-ups
went down
happen the
there
same
and
thing.
you never let your child touch the sand.
Well, yes, he did, but then we washed him off.
Have you ever? This is so not anything to do with what we're talking about today. But have you ever taken a regular diaper and gone have had your child go swimming with a regular diaper on rather than a swim diaper and be like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's water, right? It's self-cleaning.
No, because it is a big
They
deal.
explode.
Yes.
Yeah, you soak all the water.
Yeah.
They literally fill up with gel and they completely explode.
Yeah.
We've done that a few times.
Yeah. I've had him like
What's a
crawl
swimming
into.
swimming diaper? What is
It's
that?
the little
Special
blue
diaper.
ones. They look like
Where you get those?
at the store where you get regular
Shoppers.
diapers, like Walmart or
Yeah,
something.
Walmart.
You
We get our
sure?
diapers from Walmart. That's the cheapest, I think. Although Dan, if you asked him, Mr. Sales Guy from last week,
Oh, he would have a lot. To
Amazon
Tell
apparently.
you. If you're having
No,
a
that's
baby,
bullshit.
he'll tell you his.
I mean, sorry, that's not real. That's not true. The best thing is go through the flyers and then just get them that way. Cheapest price ever. My locker is full of diapers.
At your condo?
Oh my condo, yeah.
It is not.
Yeah, it is. I have
They're
like
gonna
10
absorb.
boxes.
They're gonna absorb the moisture out of the air, or are they shrink wrapped?
No, they're all nice and packed. So
What
good too.
size? They go through them so quickly. Like
It's just so
he's,
massive.
he's bought ahead. He's already bought size 6s and 5s.
I have like,
what?
well, I already got rid of the ones. I had to return a couple of boxes. I have 2, 3s, and 5.
Yeah, it's true. You
Oh,
can
what
just
are you
return
guys
them.
like? When I was growing up, when I was in high school, I thought I was a Huggies man myself. But then my wife told
Pampers.
me I'm not. Pampers apparently is
It's the way to go.
We put all 4 of our
Okay, wait,
kids
can I
through
just interject
Pampers.
here?
Yeah,
In high school, you were thinking you were a Huggies man?
based on the
He
marketing.
was wearing
yeah.
Huggies.
Based on the marketing.
Like you were like checking out diaper commercials?
No,
when
he
you
was
were-
wearing them.
No. When right. No, when you're watching TV and you're watching The View or some kind of daytime soap.
No.
Um,
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, that's not true. But no, I always thought that Huggies was like a man's diaper. Like the
that mean?
advertising's cooler. It's like Pampers is kind of soft, a little bit on the weak side. But we put all of our kids through Pampers because my wife told me to. If anyone in our target audience is interested in
No,
diaper
not
talk.
at all.
Okay, let's move on.
We're gonna have
And
to cut this out.
wasn't that supposed to be the last topic?
Okay, and coming up, joining us in the 4th seat today is Garnet Williams. He's a professional voiceover artist and someone who everyone should recognize. Once you hear your voice, you'll recognize him as the guy who voiced our intro to this podcast. And we have him in because voiceovers is something that no one really ever talks about, from my opinion. Yet it's the cornerstone of a lot of our productions, from commercials and documentaries, television work, corporate work. Really, I think anything other than like narrative productions, feature films, and television aside, voiceovers are the drivers of a lot of the content that we do. So I'm surprised people don't talk about it more. And we will get into that a little bit later with Garnet. But first, Leah, you have a bear update.
Yes. Okay, so yesterday I got a text message from one of my girlfriends who said that her mom's best friend, who lives in Holland Landing, which is where I live, had a bear in her backyard.
Hold on. You got to sorry. This sounds very
Follow
country.
along.
This sounds very country right now. So you got a text from your what?
From my girlfriend.
From your friend.
Yeah. And whose mom lives
Okay,
in
your-
Bradford, but
your-
her mom's friend lives in Holland Landing.
Hold on. So you got a text from your friend whose mom's friend lives in the town you live in.
Right. We all live in like towns that are basically the same town, but they're differentiated.
I think baby vacations get into you.
So you live in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
And there was a bear.
Yes, and there was a bear on her patio. She sent me a picture, and there's a bear on her patio, like where her pool is and her table and chairs and stuff.
So where her pool is and her table and chairs.
Well, it's between those two things. I can show you the picture. And so they had to put it down.
That's terrible because I saw this morning in the news. They shot the poor bear.
Six
That's
times.
terrible.
They didn't catch it yesterday. They caught it today.
Yeah, this morning.
in
but
Newmarket.
But,
in Newmarket.
but that is BS.
It had made its way to Newmarket from Holland Landing. It's pretty
I
funny.
don't understand why they couldn't just put a tranquilizer and put him somewhere else instead of shooting him.
I don't understand that
I think
either.
it's
Once a bear gets taste for blood.
I think
Why
cops
don't you
should have
try
taken
that
their
again?
time and try to come up with a better solution than shooting the poor bear 6 times.
But yeah, all my information was secondhand because John told me that he was
Who's John?
John, my husband, said he was
Is that the guy with
stopped
the
on
MBA?
He does have an MBA actually.
He's great.
He said that there was road closures on his way to work because they were trying to kill the bear.
This is the update. This is the bear update, Leah. This is it.
Yeah,
they shouldn't
well-
be shooting the bear. They should be just tranquilizing
Okay,
and
but
taking it
can
away.
I say 2 things?
You're going to tell me they cannot go to a vet, say, give me lots of tranquilizer. We need to take down this bear.
One, how much experience do people in Holland Landing or Newmarket have with dealing with a bear?
Well, they should have a lot because they're a small town, so they have a lot of
No,
bears.
we do not have a lot of bears. And 2, now everyone thinks that it's way more northern than...
Roland,
It is.
and Leah, you both sound Canadian right now. Like you sound, when there's a
We're talking
bear,
about
when there's a
bears.
bear sighting and a bear shooting in your little tiny hometown, it just sounds like Canada to me.
Fight the power.
Yeah,
You wanted to talk about Big Shiny Tunes too?
Speaking of bears, I wanted to comment on how nice your office is looking. You really,
How does
you
that have to
really
do with
moved
bears?
in.
It's like a bear
You
went
really,
through it.
you really moved in here.
What
A
is-
bear cave might look nicer.
I see
A
nothing
big
but
hot mess.
There's some bathroom stuff over here. And
because we moved offices two months. When we moved offices 2 months
A
ago,
long
and
time ago.
we don't have a private bathroom anymore.
What really upsets me is our awards on the floor here.
yeah, covered.
That's our
It's
sweat
like
and
you
ear.
take no pride.
That's our sweat and tears right there. It's just on the floor.
We haven't built the bookshelf yet.
And who hasn't built that?
Pick up. We haven't built the bookshelf yet.
Pick up. Who hasn't built that?
I've been busy selling, buddy. I
Well,
listened
these-
to last week's podcast, and I was in the sales mood.
Well, are we going back to sales because we can start again?
Let's talk about sales, buddy. What do you want to talk about?
No, but I'm
That's
not
like
done
the
with the
creepiest
state of
laugh
the
ever.
office. The things that you did unpack.
Yeah.
What I wanted to bring up
I didn't
was
unpack.
you did unpack your Big Shiny Tunes 2 CD, just in case you wanted to listen to it.
Listen.
There's not a lot unpacked, but that is unpacked.
Hold on. It's not only Big Shiny Tunes
There's
2.
a couple other ones like
We have
also
Offspring
circa high school.
Ignition, their very first album ever.
Nice.
Some 40. Oh, these are bad.
wow,
these are
that's
bad.
terrible.
Some 41.
Don't say some of them. We'll tell you.
Hold on, that one's not bad.
Yeah,
actually.
skip through that. Just get to the
No,
half
keep
decent
going,
ones.
keep
half
going.
diff.
Ladies and gentlemen, the best of George Michael. I found this in a dumpster. Actually.
When you're salvaged
Probably
it.
where he belonged.
Yeah, no, when I was doing ground maintenance in high school, I found this and these 2 Sarah McLachlan albums
Ay.
in a dumpster. Never listened to them. I don't even know if they play. Like, look at how scratched up that is.
Just pop it in the computer and see if they play.
What about
That's
Will
a really
Smith,
good one. Big Willie style.
What is that?
Will Smith,
Oh,
Miami.
Yeah.
Come on, just
Welcome
the 2 of
to
us.
Miami.
Men in Black.
Is that Miami?
What did you sing when you guys went to
No, no, no.
Miami together?
I sang that all the time when we were in Miami a few years ago in South Beach, but I always thought it was Gambinino Ami.
No.
That's not
What are you talking about?
Okay, he's Spanish, so he's really pissed now.
Oh,
But how is
terrible.
it not Gambinino Ami?
because it isn't. It's bienvenido.
What is it?
Bienvenidos.
Bienvenidos
Yeah.
a Miami?
Which is just
Miami.
welcome to Miami.
Which is welcome to Miami, Mark.
Gambinino
You can Google
Ami.
translate that. You know that?
Back when that CD
Alexa.
came out, he could not Google it.
No. When that CD, I was in grade 9 because it was the summer. It was when I got Puff Daddy
Well,
in
you
the
could have gone
family.
to the library and
Oh, that's
got
a good
a
one, too.
dictionary, English to Spanish. China update.
Okay, Roland, you've been itching all day. Give us your China update. What's going on with China?
China update. They're going to ban smoking in public spaces.
We did that years ago.
Well, China's doing it now, so it's cool.
Good. Thank you. That was our China update from Roland. Thank you,
Can
Roland.
we make a
You
China
know the problem
update
with that
song?
is like, are they going to keep down now?
Roland, you can't say stuff like that.
Pick up. They're banning
Jesus,
some
fine.
smoking in China, which is good for them. Less smog in the air.
Yeah.
Hopefully, people can live longer.
Yeah,
which is
that's
great.
all good. That's all positive
And,
stuff.
You know, it's a good example for the youth.
Great.
It
Thank you,
is.
Roland. Thank you for that positive China update for once.
Because then they can send him to the.
Oh, shh.
Okay.
Okay.
They're building the to poop.
So our next topic.
Okay,
Check,
with
check.
that, first segment is done. Next segment, we're going to talk about voiceover work. So in the fourth seat today, we're joined with Garnet Williams. He has over 15 years of voiceover experience, specializing in character and animation voices. But he also does a lot of commercial and corporate work, and I've heard him do everything from beer commercials and Hot Wheels commercials to telephone on hold systems, network television bumpers. He's also a professor at Mohawk College, where he helps the radio broadcasting program focus on directing and voicing, recording, as well as editing and mixing. He's a member of his own podcast with two of his colleagues, but of course, everything he's done within his career, his professional life, his personal life, really came to a head when we got him to voice our telephone system here at Phanta, our Christmas videos, and of course, he is the voice for the intro of this podcast. So listen, that's a special place in all of our hearts, and we'd like to welcome Garnet. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good. Thank you. That was, wow, my head just like 10 times bigger than it was before I heard that.
As it should be. You're like a cornerstone in terms of voicing for the company here. So
I'm the unofficial mascot voice of Phantom Media.
There you go.
I like that.
And you know what? I wanted to have you on because when we first started thinking about brainstorming topics for this podcast, something that really jumped out at me, which I mentioned off the top, is that the voiceovers are the cornerstone of a lot of productions, and yet no one seems to talk about it. And so I wanted to bring you on because being a professor and doing this for 15 years and running your own business and producing and all of that stuff that you've done, you have an interesting perspective, and you'll be able to help shed both light in terms of what voiceover artists go through, but then also from a producing point of view, how to make the most of it. Just to get things going, I wanted to ask you your opinion on how important a really solid voiceover is on a project, because from my point of view, it's as important as editing or shooting or music selection or anything, because the voice is, a really solid voiceover can make or break a piece, can't it?
Oh, 100%. I think just about any project starts with the script, because if that's not nailed down tight, then the voice has nothing to interpret. But after the script, the voice, I think, is the second most important aspect to get your message across, to target your desired audience. And it's something that needs to be given a lot of thought, and it's not something that you want to just leave to an amateur, or it needs to be thoughtfully approached and brought into the project and executed. Because I've heard some projects that have just used somebody that they had at hand, maybe their receptionist. Oh, she's got a nice voice, and they throw her in, and it just doesn't lend the same kind of credibility.
And I've heard it said, within the industry, people I've talked to, you mentioned, next to the script itself, I've heard it be said that, a really good voiceover delivery can actually fix a really bad script. Is that the case, or really is the script the foundation?
To an extent. I've seen a script, and if you read it with authority, it might be gibberish, but you can kind of like gloss over that, and people maybe might pay more attention to the eloquence of the read and the what's the word I'm looking for? Like theatricality of the read, if it's really interesting and engaging, and not realize that the actual words behind the read are without merit or baseless. The script should be as professional as the read will be, and then the script writers or working with the announcer, with the voice, should come together and just try and bring the script alive.
So on that, or talking about the scripts, what's the difference between writing for a voiceover and writing for copy?
See, it depends on exactly what it is you're trying to do, because there's all kinds of different voiceovers. There's the kind of stuff, corporate videos, which you guys are quite familiar with. And then there's commercials, and then there's, explainer videos and all kinds of different aspects of voiceover.
I think what Leo was going with that, and sorry to interject, is that a lot of times we get accused. A lot of times we get accused from clients of having terrible grammar because we use a lot of commas and a lot of punctuation just to try and work in the beat of the way we want the tone delivered and the intonation. And so we have clients who have really, really strong copywriters on board who look at our voiceover scripts and go, these are terrible. These guys don't even understand English. And yet, in my mind, I think there's a difference between copy and between a voiceover script.
Well, there totally is. Like I've done some technical narration stuff where I have to make sure that I read 100% grammatically correct, 100% enunciate every single word just like that, because it's technical, right? People are learning from this. But when you're dealing in most other voiceover projects, whether it's a video that you want to target to potential clients or listeners, or it's a commercial script or something like that, I automatically change sentences to include contractions. I automatically drop the G in some words. Going to becomes gonna, because that's how people talk. That's how we talk on a daily basis with our friends. We're not all tied up in the rules of the English language and grammar and structure and sentence structure and stuff like that. We personalize it, and it makes it easier to get our points across, and it's what identifies us, and kind of makes us unique. It goes back to something I'm a firm believer in, is that people like to be talked to, not talked at.
I saw a great explainer video this morning, actually, that I was watching, and in a lot of ways, I thought it was very well done. But then at one point in the script, the voiceover person said, "It is important that you understand your clients." And I thought, gosh, that really snapped me out right there, just with how correct and awkward it was in the voiceover. Grammatically correct, but a bit awkward, from this very casual flow they were going for the "it is important," just threw me right out of the moment.
Yeah, and it does that. It puts people on guard, because if you sound too, authoritative, people kind of get their guard up, and if that's the case, then they're not listening to you with both ears, and they're not getting the whole message.
So if we can all agree that, a solid voiceover read, a great script, a professional, getting the tone, getting the flavor, getting what you're going for is so key for a lot of, the vast majority of projects. As you mentioned off the top, let's get Sally, the receptionist. She's got a great voice answering the phone. Let's get her to do our read for us. Why does that mentality still exist? Why are producers leveraging average people? Why not just hire... in our firm, for example, like we recently did a project for my church that was pro bono, and yet we still hired a professional voiceover artist to voice it, because we wanted that rich, historic, authoritative, whispering voice that really spoke to the era we were going for, and getting. Don, the guy who sits in the fourth row, he's not going to give that to us. So why don't more producers, why don't more organizations, why don't they just spend the money on professional voiceover talent?
Oh, it's simple, Mark. They're stupid. No,
is that it? Okay, great. Let's chalk it up to that. Okay.
No, you know what? It's not that they're stupid. I'm being very tongue in cheek here. It's that they're misinformed. Or uneducated might be a better word for it. And sometimes budget constraints can definitely be a part of that. But if something's worth doing well, it's worth doing right. I'm not saying you got to break the bank and go out and hire like a top tier talent, but there are plenty of well-trained, well-respected, well-established voice actors in almost every market at almost every price point, because most, like myself, we don't have a hard and fast, here's our rate. We tell us what your project is. Tell us what your usage is. Is it going to be internet? Is it going to be in a local market? Is it going to be radio, TV? Is it just how long? What's the duration? How long is the project going to be running? All these factors can allow most voice actors that I'm familiar with. They'll tailor the rate to fit your project and your budget, but at the same time not devalue what they do, because we are professionals. And it's when you see people just say, oh well, I don't want to pay what you're charging, I'm going to use my receptionist, or they go to these fly-by-night companies like Fiverr.com and hire somebody from there. It's very much you get what you pay for. And you know what you're getting in what you pay for is the years of research, the years of training, the years of experience, the years of working on other projects, so that it's a one-stop. You pay that fee, you get that professional service, and your project is done, instead of how many attempts it might take you if you go for a much cheaper.
Yeah, definitely.
voiceover.
Because I find that even though people think, well, can you Sally, the receptionist, I'm going to save that money, technically actually going to cost them more, because not only we're going to have to spend way more time with Sally to get some sort of good read from her, now we got to take all those files up to like 200 takes or whatever it is, and then the editor has to sit there and start just taking literally word by word from different takes and building the message that way. So really, there's not much savings from that standpoint, and I think that's where some clients might fail to see that, and when they say, well, we're using Sally, why are we paying more? It's because of those reasons, because we're spending on the actual production of the read and also on the editing. But I think some of the parts where the client is, when they decide to use their people, is because they feel like, Sally is part of the company, so they're gonna give me the quote unquote official or the authentic read. But also it could be because voiceover, unlike acting, is not something that we can see, touch, or whatever. It's kind of behind the mic, is unseen, and I think some people are afraid of that. Have you experienced that working with people where when they talk to you or they ask you for a read, they just go, I just want you to do it good, but I don't know what. Can you make something good?
Yeah, it is. I'm going to paraphrase and semi-quote a friend of mine. But the podcast that you mentioned that I'm part of is actually a voiceover podcast. It's myself and two other voice actors, Dave McRae and Mike Pongratz, and we have guests on, other voice actors from all over the world, casting directors, voiceover coaches, studio engineers, just giving
what's the name of the podcast?
The name of the podcast, we call ourselves the Three Evos, because VO is voiceover. So like the Three Amigos, we're the Three Evos.
Yeah, we get it.
So
it's good.
Okay. So the show is called the Evos and Friends Super Fantastic Happy Hour Vodcast.
How'd you get that into iTunes with such a long name?
I don't know. Mike handles that, but
okay, cool.
we're up to about 15 episodes of the vodcast, VO vodcast, at this point.
The vodcast?
VOD instead of podcast, because it's about voiceovers. It's vodcast, VO.
I like
vodcast.
It. I like it. Roland's giving me a moving on signal.
You know what? If I have to explain it, maybe it's not as clever as we.
No. It's probably awesome on paper.
When you see it, when you go to the website, threeevos.com, and you see all that stuff there, it reads fantastically. It's just as I'm saying it right now.
Do you guys do the hat? Do you guys do the hats and mustache thing?
We have.
Wait, what's the hat and mustache thing?
Well, the Amigos.
Amigos.
Let's play on a Mexican stereotype for a minute here.
Oh, I was picturing different types of hats, but that makes sense now. The sombreros.
The actual intro for our podcast is Martin Short with his little speech from the movie The Three Amigos.
So you guys aren't concerned with...
Wherever there is injustice, we'll be there.
You guys aren't concerned with fair use or copyright issues or anything then?
Yeah. We're not making any money off it, so we're really not concerned about that.
Awesome. Cool.
Anyway, way tangented just there. I brought this up because Dave McRae, one of my fellow Amigos, he's often espousing how the voiceover industry is not really on the public's radar. It's kind of misunderstood and just like unknown, because regular actors, they're seen on camera, but voiceovers, despite the fact that you encounter voiceovers literally hundreds of times in your daily life, whether it's somebody on a phone system saying, please leave a message, whether it's a commercial on TV, radio, voiceovers are all around us. But because you don't see it, people tend not to understand the scope of the work, and this might lead to why some clients don't realize how valuable the work actually is.
Roland, I have a question for you, buddy.
Yeah, ask Roland a question.
If you're a producer, how do you go about finding voiceover talent?
I go to the agency.
That's okay. So you go to the Google and you type it in,
I go
and you
to
type
Google
in agency?
and I type voice talent. No, the truth is, most of the time we go through agency. We have a couple agencies that we work with, and we submit one sheet of what we expected, a sample of the work, and hoping that someone can interpret those directions and provide sample that we can share with the client, and then they can get selected from there. That's basically it.
So, and one thing that I forgot to speak about earlier, but something that might be valuable is when we're working as a producer with a client, what we do is we need to try and figure out the direction we want to go for a voiceover. So at a certain point during the conversation, when we're looking at their brand, when we're looking at the project and the target audience, who they are, where they are, how they'll come across the content, what the content is, we'll want to have a conversation with the client to determine what are we looking for from a voiceover? Just simply from a casting point of view, are we looking for male or female? Okay, if it's male or if it's female, is this someone in their 30s and 40s and they're young and approachable and hip and cool and friendly, or is it someone in their 50s and 60s who's more wise, who can bring more perspective to it, who can be more of an authority? This makes a big difference depending on the industry. If you're working with banks or financial institutions, they almost always want to go a little bit older. So when we're working with them, we always want to have a conversation, male, female, younger or older, and then you can go to the agency with a bit more direction of what you're looking for, what the project is, or you can go to your roster. I suppose Garnet, people, you may be on people's rosters, but certain companies may just have a roster of talent that they work with aside from an agency.
Well, working as a voice talent that has an agent, here in Toronto, and then also some agents in the States. But at the same time, I solicit my own work. I market myself. I contact companies. I cold call and try to get my name out there and find work on my own, rather than going to the agency. I've worked with some clients that call up, like there's a studio they use all the time. They'll go to the studio because they know that the studio might have a short list of people, and then the studio will contact the agency and book everything through that.
Hey, Garnet, quick question for you. I encounter this all the time, and let me know your thoughts. When I try to book talent in a book, I'm going to say, here's a script, here's a direction, roughly. Sometimes I have jumping off points I can provide to them. But I always want to ask them to sit down and book a time and go through the recording together, because I have been kind of, I don't want to say burned, but there have been times where people say, oh, I can do it, provide a couple of samples, and we can take it from there. But most of the time, what they record and send to me is not what we're expecting or what we want. So it becomes a bit of a challenging, and when the phone rings in the background, I get those files as well, and I got to edit it out. It's tough.
Hold on. I'm turning it off.
Well, should you answer it?
Just pick up.
Is that like a rotor phone?
No, it's just that you can program what sound you want your phone to make, and I choose to have it make an old-time rotary phone.
It just took me back, buddy.
Sorry.
To win before you were born, Mark?
No, at my cottage, we were on Pulse.
I don't know what Pulse is.
It's like a pulse.
Pulse is the reason why when you had to use a rotary phone, it would go, it would like dial. So if you had a digital phone.
Again, I've never used a rotary phone.
What? How old are you?
I'm the same age as you, pretty much.
No,
obviously not. I've used a rotary phone.
I use a rotary phone
I'm
too.
23.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Now,
That's Lisa Black.
Okay, so
don't you feel like Grandpa right now? Like, Lynn,
I'm only
come
32.
over here and just let us tell you about the good old days when it took an hour to make a phone call.
I'm only 32, but we had a party line as well.
Why were you making phone calls? Couldn't you just send them a text?
Do you guys? Oh gosh, do you guys know what a party line is? Yeah, so party line is when you're in a certain region where you can't have your own phone number. There's one phone number that would be shared by multiple homes, and when the number's dialed, all of the homes in the area ring. And
that's like Russia.
And you pick up the line, and if someone else is on the phone and you pick up your line, it's a party line. You're sharing it with them, and you have to say, get off the phone, I need to use the phone now.
It'd be so good to spy on people.
Anyway, Roland, why don't we pick up...
I thought you said when you said party line was like a line of coke and everybody just comes and goes for it.
So that's what you meant. It's like Russia, eh? Okay, Roland, I think you were asking a question there before we were so...
I think the question that I had was, why do a lot of talent are kind of afraid of jumping on a call and discussing the recording and get feedback on the spot or direction on the spot? I feel like they try to hide away from, like, just kind of take it away and do it, but that creates more work, I feel. Your thoughts on that?
It does. Like, why not just take the guesswork out of it? The procedure that I go through is normally somebody like yourself, the client, would contact my agent and say, we have this project, we need somebody that sounds like this, who do you recommend? And they might recommend a few demos to listen to. The client listens to the demos, they say, oh, hey, we like Garnet's, we're going to send him the audition script. So I get sent the script, I voice the audition, I send it back to the client, and if they dig it, then they'll actually book me for the job. And at that point, they either bring you into a studio to record, or they want to, most voice actors like myself, professional voice actors, we have our own personal studios. The client can dial in and direct the session. And I think that's a great idea. I have no problem whatsoever with the client being present via Skype or phone patch or what have you. It takes the guesswork out of things. The client, if they're not happy with your read, they just say, could you try this? Could you try that? I don't have an ego, so if they want to give me a line reading, say it more like this, I don't care. Some people get their nose out of joint, like, well, this is supposed to be my interpretation of the script, and you telling me exactly how to say it takes away my.
Do they really do that?
My creativity. There are some people that have that mentality where I'm an actor, and you giving me a line reading. It's like, the director telling, I don't know, Tom Cruise exactly how to say his lines. But I'm not Tom Cruise. I don't make Tom Cruise kind of money. And you know what? If you're the one signing the check, you get to tell me how to dance. I'm a monkey boy, okay? Now, I don't care.
Something I've often thought about is that it's really hard to learn etiquette when you're a producer and you're new to this. You know what you want to get out of the session, but you're not quite sure unless someone's taught you or there's how do you know the standard, I guess is what I'm asking, for the etiquette as a producer. I'm having someone come in. What is reasonable for me to expect? What is not reasonable for me to expect? What you should never say or never do or never ask of someone.
As a producer, if I was bringing somebody into voice, I would expect at this point they're a professional, so they're going to have a thick skin. I'm not going to be worried about stepping on toes. I'm not going to be worried about hurting feelings. They understand it's a business. They understand that they provide a service and I'm paying for that service. And at the end of the day, I need to be happy with what I'm paying for. So if I want to direct them, and say, no, do it again, try it like this, more emphasis on this, inflection on this, go down on this, go up on this, I can just sit there and, throw a flurry of directions at them until I get what I'm happy with. And I've been a director that has done that to talent. I've been a talent that has had that done to me by directors. It's just expected when you're at this level.
Okay.
So in terms of direction, what kind of things do you like to hear? What kind of things you don't like to hear? Because
I like to hear that was great. You can get your check at the door.
you nailed it. Invoice us.
Perfect. Yeah. Here we go. No,
one take. Look at that.
I got feedback before from talent where they get really upset when someone says, it's not what I was thinking. Can you do it again? And they just go but what do you want? I don't know.
Well,
just do it again. But then, so maybe you can expand on that. What are the things that maybe a producer should be telling you guys?
A producer, give us guidance. Tell us what you want. Try to be as clear as possible in the direction. I know there's direction on script, and we're going to use our own abilities to interpret the script and try and take it to where it needs to go, where everybody's happy with the final product. But the director needs to, like you just said, don't say, that was good, but can you try it a different way? Well, that's really vague. That's not giving me anywhere to go. So just to be as specific as possible in what you want, and a professional voice actor will do his best to get it where you want it.
Something that when I used to direct voice talent, I would always I always got the sense that it was clear to me what I was asking, and everyone was very polite I was working with, and they would listen to my feedback and then go, okay, yeah, let's try it like that, sure. Because I would be doing things like, I'd say things like, listen, you're pushing too much. I can hear you pushing, so let's bring it a little bit back, and if you tighten it up too much, we can always open it up again later. And they'd go,
oh yeah,
they go. Oh, okay, I guess. Or I'd say, listen, you're being a bit too breathy. Let's try and slur our words a little bit together, speak a little bit faster, but not so breathy. Or we need more of a hushed tone or a whispering tone. Or I would speak like this, which I thought is good direction. And
I think that's perfect direction. You're being very specific, and I could take any one of those and adjust based on what you said. I don't see any problem with what you just said.
No, so I'm awesome. That's fantastic. But people would look at me and I would go do they, they're being polite, right? But do they actually understand what I'm asking for? Does it make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I've had directors that are like, that was good, but can you try not to be quite so, and they just throw a random verb or something like that. And it's like, well, that's not, as specific as I'd like it.
It sounds like you just ran a marathon, and I want you to pretend you're going up a hill. Can you work with that, please, for me, and do another read?
Yeah. yeah, that's fine. So you want it to be really breathy and really.
I was trying to give you
So
an
you're saying
example.
that's good feedback?
I was trying to give you an example of terrible.
But
feedback.
I'm saying that's actually not bad. Now you're acting. You're setting a scene that I can actually the actor can try and like imagine. Okay, so this is what I'd sound like if I'd just come off of running a marathon. I'd be really choppy in my delivery and really breathy and out of breath and kind of stuff. And
Okay, well,
at least it's something.
Let's imagine that we're working with people less professional than you for a second.
Well, maybe this is more of a comment. Sometimes what I get from some talent is they read it once and I go, okay, great, let's do it again and let's do things, and go like, oh, what? Oh, that was great. And I was like, okay, says who? Just I don't. There's some people out there who think it's just like you said. It's a matter of sitting down, reading it, and out the door. And I don't know if that's lack of professionalism, because you can also kind of see it when you get the files from them. Sometimes they're popping. Sometimes you can hear things in the background. And so maybe
like what kind of things? Like you hear like airplanes or
like their
trains
wife and their children. Or
their wife and children.
Well, I got
Their
dogs. I
phone.
got their
Dogs,
creaky
yeah.
chairs.
Are you done reading yet?
I get a little. Hey, I'm in the session right here. Just come on a second. A lot of those kind of things.
Mom, I'm trying
but
to
I
do
feel
a
like
read.
professionalism is not just also being able to, like you said, work on your craft and take direction, but also, if you're gonna record from home, just invest a little bit of. Put a little bit of effort in building some sort of little booth or studio that you can provide files that the client can work with. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I have a personal studio, and most of the voice actors that I know also do that. Some because they live in small towns where, like all over the U.S. and Canada, where they don't have access to studios like I have access here in Toronto. So all of their work is done from their home studio all day long. So they have to make sure that it sounds of professional quality, because they don't really have an alternative to record elsewhere. More important than the microphone, and of course you need a microphone to record in, and don't use a USB microphone, and don't use the microphone that your laptop came with. Actually spend a little money. It doesn't have to be a break the bank kind of purchase, but it does have to be a little more professional than the two other options that I just mentioned. But more important than the microphone itself is like you just mentioned, a booth or a walk-in closet, or at least a corner of a small room that has been acoustically treated. And acoustically treated doesn't mean that you have to go out and buy all this soundproofing that professional studios use. The first time that I made like a little recording area in my house, I went down to Canadian Tire and picked up some moving blankets.
Well, it's so funny because you reminded me when we started doing voiceover work with professional talent, with professional agency. Sorry, a motorcycle's going by.
That's why we go put the blankets on the walls.
Yeah, we have a huge glass
If you had a
window
couple of
behind us.
moving blankets from Canadian Tire, I would have stopped that motorcycle.
So as I was saying, we actually used to bring everyone into our offices, and we would spend like an hour and a half with C-stands, with sandbags, building out of sound blankets and these huge black wraps that we had. We used to build these booths because we wanted to really deaden all the sound, and we bring them in, and they would come in, and people would look at us a bit strange because we didn't build the quote unquote proper
Right.
booth with the plexiglass and the clear comm and all that stuff. We were mom and popping it. So they'd come in, and it's funny because we did that for like a year or a year and a half before someone finally mentioned to us, they said, I have a professional studio in my house. You could just get me to do it from home. And we thought, are you kidding me? Like, we spent a year and a half setting up this booth each time and doing this just to get the best sound, and you could have done it from home. So I'd encourage everyone, either if you're going to do it in your office, take the time to do it right and set up the booth, or spare yourself from looking, kind of silly and ask if they have a home studio.
Oh, always. And most voice actors do have a home studio.
You know what was striking to me, what sticks out of my memory, when we did the first project together, went very, very well. I felt it was pretty easy. I think, to be honest, you read it in like 15 minutes.
It was a joy. It was great.
It was fantastic
I
for
thought you were
everyone.
going to say joke.
No, it was. I remember it because it was a read that was, as we talked about earlier, very conversational, which is kind of my wheelhouse. I talk like an everyday kind of guy, so it was, just me being me, reading your words.
But what was interesting to me, though, about that was that project was very simple and fast. And we booked a studio for like an hour or two, and it was like we were done in 15 minutes. But then the next project, we tried something where we had you read against someone. So it was like a question answer. It was a call and response type thing where
The 5 myths.
Exactly. And what I found so interesting about that is not to put anyone down, is that you were you came in and it was very seamless, and we can say it's because you've worked with us before, or that we wrote it to your voice or whatever it was, but you were very seamless and very quick, and the person you were reading against needed a lot of coaching, I
don't think they'd worked on that type of project before. They came from a theater background.
Okay.
So I think it might have been.
So I should have asked you this years ago. Then you have insight that I didn't even have.
And just following up on that, you mentioned that this person, I don't know if it was a woman or a guy, but
it was our project. You produced
You do
it.
know.
it was years ago, and after 2 years, a mentally wrapped project.
Okay.
So they're no longer
Let us remind you of the project that you produced. It was Garnet reading against a woman, and there was a nice call and response. She would ask
the 5 myths.
Yeah, she would ask a question, and then
the 5 minutes.
I'm going to tell Manny you forget what 5 myths is. He's going to be very upset.
It's been over 2 years. I deleted mentally.
mentally deleted. I cannot wait for your son to hit the age of 2. Then
maybe I might delete it mentally. We'll see.
Okay, so sorry. Your
My
question
follow-up
was
to that was, you say she came from theater mainly, and this kind of, it was new for her. Do a lot of people kind of stumble upon voice? You find that a lot of people stumble voiceover work by accident, if they think that is something easy they can do and on the side.
Yes, from all walks. I've worked with some stand-up comedians who are actually quite good. At least the ones that I've worked with, they've been quite good at doing voiceovers. You see in Hollywood all the time, on-camera actors, movie actors, or TV actors. Some people just want to do it because it's something I'd like to explore and kind of do it as a hobby, and then you've got others that are consistently doing it as to augment their income. There's all kinds of people doing it for all kinds of different reasons.
You reminded me of when you're out there hustling as a voiceover person. I don't know if anyone. Yes, Roland. I don't know if anyone
every day
is going to be hearing this,
Every day.
but a piece of advice: we got a cassette tape about a year ago.
It was amazing.
From a beautiful 70-year-old woman, I'd say, who had on the cover her face, her image drawn. It was drawn by like an artist, outlined. It was sketched, and she put it on tape. Very, very professional. Except we don't have a cassette tape deck anywhere in our office or in our cars.
It's like our rotary phone. We left it at the cottage.
We left it at we have a tape deck at my cottage, actually, and a 45.
There you go. Bring it there.
And a 45
maybe
record player.
Amazing.
But it's I think this advice might appear obvious, but don't dump your demo to cassette.
No.
Or VHS.
In this day and age, no.
A quick question for you there. So for a voiceover artist, what's like the dream job?
Your questions are always quick, okay? You're like, just a quick question. I just have another quick question.
How many questions have you had that were successful?
I've had none.
Perfect. Moving on. Quick question.
Do keep trying.
Don't give up. Anybody, guys.
Never give up.
Don't give up. So Roland,
I'm on maternity leave, okay?
So Roland has a really
Baby
quick
vacation.
question for you there, Garnet.
What's that?
For
Roland?
voiceover artists, what's like the dream job? I know for actors it's big Hollywood movies or whatever it is. For voiceover artists, what is it?
You know what? For me, it was to get into animation, and that's what my intent was when I first put my demo together. My first demo was all character voices and accents, and I had one small snippet on my demo where it was just me talking in my normal voice, which is this. And I got booked for my first job, and I show up, and I'm like, okay, so what voice do you want? You want the old man? You want the British guy? What do you want? And they said, no, just you. You're playing a husband. It's a spot for an appliance store. And I'm like, really? Just my own speaking voice? And they said, yeah, you sound real. You sound like a husband. You sound relatable. And I'm like, oh. So I retooled my demo to showcase some more of me instead of all these characters. And I still do commercial reads as me, but animation is still, even though it's not where I thought I'd go into animation, and a lot less animation compared to other stuff that I've done, but animation would still be for me the dream job. To be in LA and working on an animated series, more than doing an animated movie, just to work on like one of these series that shows up on the Disney Channel or something like that, and get to work with all the professional voice actors in LA that I follow their careers and follow their work.
Okay, so with that, listen, Garnet, thank you so much for your time. What's that? Hold on. Sorry, Roland, you were muted.
Leah, hang on.
Yeah.
Do you have a question, Leah? No, I think we're good. We can wrap
Your
it up.
last shot, Leah. Come on.
Leah, any questions for Garnet?
You guys are the worst.
Who's the worst?
You gotta talk into
You got to
the
talk
mic.
into
You
the
guys
mic.
are the worst.
So thanks so much, Garnet, for joining us. This has really been fantastic. I appreciate you providing your time and insight and experience. Really, it's been great.
It was my pleasure. If anybody has any questions about voiceovers, the voiceover industry,
Actually, I'm gonna have a few. I'll send you some.
that would be fantastic.
Leah is the type of person to always come up with a few questions driving home from the interview.
No, that's great. You can contact me anytime at info@williamsvoiceovers.com. Check out my website, williamsvoiceovers.com. I'm at WilliamsVO on Twitter.
Fantastic.
Maybe
okay.
we use the party line.
The party
No party
line.
line.
Okay, with that, let's move on. Coming up next, listener feedback. If you have a question or comment, we would love to hear from you. This is not supposed to be a one-way street. We'd love to interact. We would love to potentially bring people on in the fourth seat. If you have a question, if you have a comment, if you have a potential topic that you'd like us to cover, please drop us an email, feedback@notsocorporatepodcast.com. Okay, listener feedback. Listen, before we jump into that, I want to give a shout out to Little Maple Man on YouTube and at Premier Bro on Twitter for the positive vibes they've been sending our way. All very good things. Okay, with listener feedback question of the week, Leah.
All right. We have a non-video related question, and he wants to know what our favorite Game of Thrones character is. And
No,
no
he
spoilers
does.
because Mark is not cut up.
I've only watched the first 2
Which
episodes
is
of
lazy. It's
season
lazy.
5.
It's your fault you're not cut up. It's not
Do
mine.
you have a subscription to HBO or do you download?
I have a subscription
Her
to
husband has an
HBO.
MBA.
Or okay, hers has an MBA. Yes, I know that. Thank you, Roland.
What about Crave TV? That sounds pretty cool.
$4 per month, but you have to have a cable subscription.
Yeah, I know. That's how they grab you
If
by
it
the
was
nuts.
like $6 or $7 per month, but
Without
you
it?
didn't have to, I'm probably more likely to pay that. But I'm not going to pay 40, 50, 60 bucks for
and then pay
cable.
$4 on top.
For cable. We lost cable 2 years ago, maybe 3. Best thing we ever did.
I lived 3
Strengthened
years
our
without
marriage.
cable.
It did.
You know, you have 2 children since then, right? 2 extra children.
That's right. We're up to 4 now since we lost our cable. Strengthened our marriage. It did.
Oh, that's
Okay,
the way
so
we're going to
Leah-
populate this land.
Thanks, Roland. Leah, so favorite Game of Thrones character? You probably are a Jon Snow fan, aren't you?
Oh, I do like Jon Snow.
Do you like that dirty?
Leah, you gotta talk
dirty
into the
guy?
mic.
You know what? I like Jon Snow. I like the Lannisters. I like them all.
The Lannisters?
Yes.
All of them? Not the blonde, right? Cersei.
Why not? She's hot.
Cersei is kind of a badass. The backstory this year of like Cersei, and if you've read the books, like she
Spoiler: you can't talk about what's
really
going on.
loves her kids. You've seen that in the previous season.
Yeah,
she'll
but
just-
I like the little guy, Tyrion,
Oh.
and
He's a great actor, by the way.
I like that dude, that is it. Everybody else I like is dead.
Daenerys. I like Daenerys.
Are you using character names or actor names?
Character names.
So what's the name?
Like the Khaleesi, like the queen.
Oh,
The
I
blonde,
don't like her.
bleach blonde.
No.
You don't like her?
No.
I like her.
Yeah,
Roland,
I
you
her.
like her in season 1 when she was diminutive, if that's the right word.
I like her.
Okay. Anyway, great. Roland, favorite Game of Thrones character?
I don't watch it, so I don't know.
Okay.
See, the thing is, we
can't
have to
talk
cut.
about it.
We have to cut the Game of Thrones stuff because we sound like idiots because none of us know enough about it. It makes us look uncool. Let's talk about Star Wars. That we could look cool.
I don't know.
I don't know anything about Star Wars.
Oh, you guys are like.
What? Hold on, but I'm more interested in the fact that you think us talking about Game of Thrones and not knowing enough about
Makes
it
you
will
not
make us not
cool.
look cool.
Yeah.
But we should talk about Star Wars because that'll make us look cool. I'm more concerned
Star
with what
Wars is cool.
I'm more concerned with what you think is cool.
Well, a
Wasn't it
25-year-old listening
Star
to
Wars-
our podcast, I feel like would.
Wasn't
be.
Star Wars cool back in the 70s?
Star Wars? It's coming out in December. The new
Force
one.
Awakens.
My
What is
wife's
that?
excited about Jurassic Park.
It's
Are you excited
coming out
about
this week.
Jurassic
I'm
Park?
really excited. Yeah, Jurassic World.
Should we wrap it up and go back to work?
Yeah, sure. Let's wrap it up. Okay, with that, we're going to wrap up this
What
week's
is that? The
podcast.
listener
I want to thank Garnet Williams once again for joining us in the fourth seat. For more information on Garnet and what he does, please feel free to check him out at his website. Thanks so much for my co-host, Leah Earl and Roland H. Averia for joining us.
Yep.
For myself and the rest of the Phanta Media
before.
team. Thanks, Chris. For myself and the rest of the Phanta Media team, have a great day, everyone. I so appreciate you being willing to do this a second time because I forgot to hit the record button yesterday.
It's all good.
We're all professionals here.